Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you in the video. Alright, so what I'm proposing is an absolute long shot. But I'm trying to find ways of improving my basketball team as a Laker fan. And I see a player out of rotation in OKC on a 4-point-something million contract. 1 year expiring deal. And there's absolutely no reason for him to be in that situation. OKC should consider trying to get some value for him. I don't know what they can retain for that player, given the fact that his value is low at this moment. But if they throw him in rotation for a couple weeks, I'm pretty sure his value will be raised. He's a rebounding machine. Darius Bazley, he can rebound the ball, he can catch lobs, he can do some things for you. A guy with some upside who's been on their team for several years and been waiting for his opportunity to shine. Has shown opportunities in the last couple of years, so last 2 years or so, when given minutes, that he could really do things. But as the team is constructed as they are, they just keep drafting players, and he's out of rotation to no fault of his own. A couple injuries here and there. There's nothing wrong with the player. He should be one of the more coveted wings in the league, but he's one of those guys in the situation where you just don't get a chance to see him play well. So, like most guys, out of sight, out of mind. It is what it is. You just forget about people, but I don't. Very simply put, I don't. So Darius Bazley needs to be acquired. He needs to be gotten out of that situation. Now Sam Presti's gonna want you to attach picks to the situation because he knows what he has. He's not gonna let you take that player without at least giving him something. So I already know how that goes. You're gonna have to do something to get that player out of Sam Presti right now, because he doesn't have any incentive to move at all. His team is playing with house money at all times. They have nothing but youth, and they have a bunch of picks, and they got a full season where they don't have to do nothing because, of course, the guy they just drafted second overall is out for the season. So it's one of those situations where they have no incentive to do nothing. But my thing is, on one hand, you can look at OKC and say, okay, yeah, you're doing great. You can do whatever you want. But on the other hand, you say, okay, you didn't already let this happen once with Roby. Just because you have a lot of valuable stuff does not mean that you're in a position to let talent walk without retaining its value. That's a slippery slope is probably the wrong term, but that's something that can go wrong once you start down that path. It can get a lot worse. In my mind, they need to understand that just because you have a million picks and a million great youthful guys right now, if you don't retain their value properly and you don't utilize their value properly, some of those picks that you're going to have are going to turn into duds. And some of them dudes you're going to let walk are actually going to turn into nice role players or good players or even all-stars. And so this is this is the tricky part about playing the game the way OKC is playing it, playing the game the way the Rockets playing it, playing the game the way Detroit and Orlando and some of these other teams that are stacking nothing but lottery picks, is who do you keep? And if you pick, make sure that you understand that what you're looking at may not necessarily tell you what the full picture is. Your guy may not play well for the next 2 years, but zoom out over the next 15 years, he might have the best career, of somebody of the set of players you're looking at. So it's one of those situations where it's like, I look at the Lakers' needs specifically, a team that just found itself in need of basically all that Darius Bazley brings to the table. And I understand that he's in need of a role like what the Los Angeles Lakers provide. So if we're looking at the player and what's best for him, I would say an exit from OKC, so he can get some playing time and an insertion into a lineup like the Lakers so he could provide a need would probably be what's best for him if I'm his representation. So if I'm that, obviously leaving OKC to go to LA is a big deal for a lot of people who would want to look for sunshine, stuff like that, pros and cons, however you feel. But at the end of the day, the role is here. And for us to be looking for players, you know what I mean? We're looking for Jeremy Grant. I've heard Kelly Oubre's name a lot. A lot of times we don't understand that those players were once Darius Bazley. They just needed to become who they became. In order for that to happen, you got to let guys develop. And so it's our job as a team in our position to develop those players to being that situation, to being at that level. So that's what I understand. We can bring those players in. identify where they have strengths that can't be taught, like length and athleticism and dynamic ability, and bring that to you and let that be the upside that you lean on, instead of all this that we're doing with the Lakers, where we're giving that type of love and support to guys that can barely help us. You know what I mean? Like, we're leaning on guys that are barely hitting shots, and pouring all our love and support and activity and intent into them. And I just know better. We can do better. There is better. You just got to be creative enough to find it, and then savvy enough to be able to acquire it. And so this is one way, you know what I mean, in terms of identifying players who are struggling, who may be on expiring contracts, et cetera, who may want to be a part of your situation based on how you can provide them the opportunity to be their best selves. See, we always talk about this with our franchise. With Anthony Davis and LeBron James, we don't have what it takes to make them their best selves, right? Because we can't seem to bring them the players, this. But a team like us, if you're looking at the fullness of yourself as a basketball team, then you know who you can provide the most for, right? You identify who you can't do what for, right? But what we can do for a guy like Darius Bazley, oh yeah, we can bring him here and make him his best self. You know, this is why I always appreciated the Trevor Ariza acquisition back in the day, because it was in the same vein. You know, I don't remember if it was Jerry West at the time. It probably was. Identified that Trevor Ariza was a player that we needed in a situation that, you know, well, we could probably go get him out of there because he was not being used in a way that up his value. So we can go get him for the cheap and then turn him into something. And that's exactly what we did. And so I'm looking at all these players pop up left and right. Bol, Anthony Simons, Isaiah Hartenstein, all these different dudes that I was up on ahead of time, who I knew they could play back when they had these type of roles that Darius Bazley got right now. I knew they could play. And I'm telling you, Darius Bazley is one of them dudes. And so with his situation being as it is, he's about to expire. Damn near 100% chance he's not returning to OKC, given how this situation is going in his contract year. Obviously, he would want to be in a situation where he could play for the minutes and et cetera, et cetera. So I look at a guy like Kendrick Nunn. I say, okay, your numbers match, Kendrick. Your numbers match. We can get you to $5 million, but they're probably not going to want to do that for Kendrick Nunn. They're going to want more value. That's going to be tough for me because I'm not going to want to give you no picks of any kind. If I want to give you any picks, it's going to be second round picks, but I don't know if I want to bring in a player like Darius Bazley who, hey, he may struggle if we bring him in. And if he doesn't struggle, he's probably going to bounce like Malik Monk. And we got enough of that going on already with several players that we're going to have to re-sign and stuff like that. So Darius Bazley is a rental. I ain't giving up no picks for rentals. But what I can do is maybe give up 2 short rentals for 1 more fitting rental with height. And that's the kind of thing I would be wanting to do. So if I'm throwing in anything, it's probably like Dennis Schroeder and Kendrick Nunn for Darius Bazley. Patrick Beverly, Kendrick Nunn, Darius Bazley. But the numbers don't work for Pat. So Dennis Schroeder would probably be the one. But that's too much talent going out to bring back Darius Bazley. But the thing about it is it does condense our guard position so that we can kind of make more sense of what it is that we do. And then, of course, we'd have more size in the lineup. Because now you insert Darius Bazley into the lineup. Troy Brown, Wenyen Gabriel. You got a bit more length that you could use in these lineups with AD and Bron. Austin Reeves, Walker. The team looks a lot better. You insert Darius Bazley into the situation. And most importantly, if Bazley were to come in right now, like it's literally right now, he would be able to play the Wenyen Gabriel role and just fix some of these problems that we have right now with the lack of athleticism and rebounding that we have. So, and I look at him and I look at Max Christie, what Bazley and Christie could do on the floor together, rebound the ball and athleticism, and then look at Russell Westbrook and how he could be in an athletic situation with Bazley. They catch lobs and throw lobs to each other. Bazley's just an excellent piece for this Laker roster right now. And he's a guy who's getting no minutes in a situation where he hasn't lost the faith of those who are paying attention to him. It's just, you got too many lottery picks in front of him. You got, Gorgie Dang and not Gorgie Dang, but Osman Dang, excuse me. You got Dort, you got Giddy, you got SGA, you got Wiggins. They just have so many players, man. It goes on literally forever with them to where a talented guy like Bazley has done nothing wrong. But like a guy like Kendrick Nunn in Miami, guys just keep getting drafted in front of him. Guys just keep You know what I mean? Guys that are just a little more, have a lot more upside, or even more, a little more upside, are just getting placed in front of him on the depth chart, as to which his needs and the things that he could provide, the level for which he's supposed to be preparing for in terms of the minutes that he wants to be, taking on his career, all that stuff gets derailed just by the sheer fact that he's on this team. So that's one of them situations like, nah, get him out of there. And you got to find other players in that same situation who may be a year or two away from turning into something. And then you acquire them for the cheap and just make sure that you have them on your team for when they do turn into whatever it is you're going to. Don't ask them to do too much too soon, and just keep them in rotation and do like we did tonight. When you have opportunities, run them like you can against really, really good talent and see them get better for doing so. This is exactly how you do it. So let's get Darius Bazley if at all possible. Obviously, Sam Presti ain't trying to do all that. I know he's not. But this is the type of thing we need to be doing. Jalen Johnson in Atlanta. I've been telling y'all about Jalen Johnson, although I mess up his name. I always call him JJ. I know now his name is Jalen Johnson. He's in Atlanta. He's finally starting to get some playing time. I don't think they're going to let go of the player. They're just hatching him and letting him come along slowly. But he's the type of guy I would have targeted last year when they didn't have no time for him at all, when they weren't, you know what I mean? When it seemed as if they just didn't have any interest in him, that was when I was focused on bringing him in. Another guy that they just cut and let go, I keep bringing up, a point guard who's killing it in the G League. God, his name has skipped my mind, but he was also with the Atlanta Hawks in that same vein, and they just didn't value him, and now he's in the G League going crazy, waiting for a team to pick him up and bring him to that situation. Sharif Cooper is who I'm referring to, and I think, yes, another one of them guys was like, when he pops, you already know, because I already told you. And the players that I be pointing out, man, I'm really starting to see them manifest. My confidence has never been higher. When I look at Trey Murphy dropping the lines that he had tonight, then I look at Bol dropping the line he had tonight, and I understand beyond the shadow of a doubt that I would have had these people all on one team 2 years ago, bro. I swear to God, all of them would have been on the same team. Because I knew these dudes could pop, and you could have got them for the cheap. Bol, Bamba, I'd have had them all, man. Hartenstein, as I said, Simons, Trey Murphy, I would have tried to get him. Obviously, he was drafted to New Orleans, but he wouldn't know the second round or something. I'd have took him with my first opportunity after the lottery to take that kid. I'd have took him with the 18th pick. That's how good he is, and I know it already. So it's one of the situations. It's like, man, when you have an eye for talent, or you believe you have an eye for talent, and you see it manifest in the players actually playing well several years later, it's like, yeah, man, yeah. Now I know I can suggest to everybody, this guy, who ain't getting no minutes, who averages 1 point, and I'm pretty damn confident they're going to turn into exactly what I say they're going to, because the other guys did too. So this is that, man. This is exactly that. Go get Darius Bazley, bring him to your team. If you can. Obviously, he's on a $4 million contract, so you got to do that. But Presti is not better for having that kid, because eventually he's just going to walk for nothing. That's talent out the door for no reason, man. It doesn't have to go that way. He should try to get something for him. And, that's the type of thing I'm looking at. I was listening to somebody, I think it was one of the guys I was listening to. They were saying, who is going to be the sleeper seller team in the trade market? OKC. OKC is the sleeper seller team in the trade market because they have too many talented players and not enough roles for them, and they've already let one guy walk in an egregious way to San Antonio. And so that's one of the situations where they're not going to let that happen too many times, and there's no other way to do it but to trade young talent. So they're going to have to, and nobody sees it coming. It's simply that. It's simply that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get rid of the most important ones, but guys like Darius Bazley and Aaron Wiggins, they're probably going to have to move some guys, man, because they're not going to want to get rid of Dort. They're not going to get rid of Giddey. SGA, obviously, no way. Chet, obviously, no way. Whoever they're about to draft with their lottery pick right now, obviously, no way. Do you see how many players this is? They can get bird rights for some of these dudes, but they're already in a space where they got to get rid of certain people. You can already see some of the names that I haven't mentioned. They're going to have to go. And so, unless they want to take massive pay cuts. So that's one of them situations where I look at Darius Bazley, and he's the obvious one. He's out. Expiring contract. Ain't no way to re-sign him. There's no way. They're not even giving him minutes right now. So let's go get him out of there. And I think it fits everything we need. You know, I hear the Lakers talking about they want Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson, in a nutshell, absolutely can help us because of what we need. But when I look at Josh Richardson, the thing about it is he's proven to me that he goes to new places and struggles. He proves to me that everywhere he goes, he underachieves. He disappoints everywhere he goes. And so if I'm going to pick him up, even though we need what he is, at his price, if that's his reputation, I can afford to go get the great value version of him and maybe turn it into a better version that he actually is. You know, I can go get Darius Bazley, and I think I'm going to turn Darius Bazley into a better Josh Richardson than Josh actually is. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't actually turn out that way. But the point is, I ain't about to overpay for the real Josh Richardson. Hell no. I'm going to go get the great value version and see what I can do for myself. So, great value with respect. And I'm going to say a name just out of respect. Great value don't mean go get Mo Harkless. No, I gotta reach for upside. I gotta know that the person I got can possibly get better than what it is that I think they are. And so if I'm gonna get a guy who's already who they're gonna be, and they're just that at that level, and we already got enough of that in LA. We don't need no more of that. We need Max Christie. We need Bazley. We need upside. I was looking at some of them dudes on the Toronto bench. Malachi Flynn. He's a shorter guy, but I know he can ball. I know this. I don't question it. I have no question about it. If you put him in positions to do what it is he does those things very well. So if you're going to pick him up at dirt cheap price and then you empower him to be better and work his development, you'll be happy you did. Delano Blunton, also on the Toronto Raptors. Same exact thing. They got him listed as a point guard. I don't know why. The dude is basically a wing with very long arms, that type of thing. You put him on your team. You wait on him. Sometimes guys don't pan out just because they have the metrics and this and that, but you got to consider the upside and the players that they're playing with as well, which also takes into account when they're playing in practice with certain guys and they're young. They're going up against really, really talented guys, so they're getting that practice. You know what I mean? They're getting that level of talent that they need to go up against in order to simulate better versions or what have you, what they need to see in order to get better. So those type of things are little things to think about when assessing players as well. Look at a guy on the OKC team, no matter who he is, he's playing against young OKC lottery talent every single night. So that's kind of cool, I guess, when you're considering it. So this is where my head is, man. I just want to see my team continue to look for young talent, wherever you can find it, man. G League. I think the golden ticket is really in the G League, because the key to it all is to try to find the most productive and interchangeable pieces for the lowest possible price. So that's why you're not looking for the Josh Richardsons and all these different contracts. They have the metrics. Yeah, they can provide you the production. But if you look at how Andrew Nembhard is playing right now, a rookie, then you understand that you can find production. This ain't the old NBA where it's hard to find dynamic players and stuff like that. No. It's just that people don't realize it's not as difficult to find dynamic players, and they're reluctant to give guys chances because they're afraid they're not going to perform at the highest level, or they're afraid they're not going to be able to adapt to the NBA game or whatever the heck it is. But just like anything else, you put people out there and they're going to get better. You could put anybody against a better version of anything. And if they run up against it enough times, they're going to get better at whatever they're doing. So that's just all it is to it. I think the key is to just find players that can fit what it is your vision is, like Orlando's doing, where they just continue to put length on top of length on top of length. And you see how it's starting to manifest. I think it was when I first started this channel, I told you guys that I respected Orlando because they valued shot blocking and length more than most teams. And I said eventually, if they keep that mentality up, it's going to pay off for them. Now look at them. I was telling y'all that 3.5 years ago, but it's the point. It's like you value certain things, you know what you want, you know who you're going to be. When you go out looking for what it is you're looking for, you just bring that stuff to you. And that's what it is. They wanted to be tall, they wanted to be long, and they weren't afraid of players who could all be 7 feet and be dynamic and dribble the ball. So now you see what they're trying to put together. And I would not be surprised if they land Wembanyama. I would not be surprised if the Orlando Magic get Wembanyama, slap him next to Bol, and Banchero and just win forever. You know what I mean? They literally could do that. Same with OKC and Chet. and Bowl and the guys that they got, as I've already said. So if you want to be in a league with those teams, the key to finding your way to build toward that is exactly what I've said. You got to build your way out the dump. You got to get it out of the mud. You got to get it out the G League if you don't have your picks. So we can do that. We're not afraid to do that. And I'm not also afraid to put together a bunch of guys who are not quite good enough yet. Because you slap two of them together, get the most out of them, trade them for one, turn him into something, get two more of those, trade them for one. It's just like any other slap and stack situation. You just get two, make them better, turn them into one, make him better, turn him into something better, make him better. And that's how you do it. And it's easy to do because guys are self-motivated in this league. They know what the pecking order is to get money in regards to what they want to do to feed their families. So when you give them opportunities, you give them the reps. If they're about what they're about, they will make themselves better. You just got to empower them to do that. And so, the formula going forward is going to be a lot easier, I think, for the NBA in terms of how to manage the NBA, because so many different mistakes have been made to help us understand how simple it is to do. Not simple, but more so how easy it is to not make certain mistakes again, I guess is what you would say. So that's what it's about, man. Player development. That's what's going to get these teams like the Nets and the Lakers out of their hole. So that's really where my head is, man. Let's look for the young guys. Let's look for the players that can help us. Dynamic players with length, Lakers. Please. Forwards. God, I want to ring off some more names. I know they're out there. I just know they are. They're in Toronto. OKC. I always mention Josh Christopher and guys like that in Houston. Some of these teams are just not going to be able to keep their players. So while we're looking for the names that we're used to and guys that you're familiar with, that is not where the money's at. You need to find the guys that are unsung, that you haven't heard of, that are about to be something. Get them before they turn into something, and then you really have something. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.